Yesterday, your body felt almost normal. Then this morning, the pain returned. Your energy disappeared. Your mind felt wrapped in fog. Maybe your joints stiffened, your skin changed, or a symptom you thought had finally settled suddenly came back. It can feel as if someone flipped a switch inside your body. But an autoimmune flare is rarely one simple switch. It is more like a cup, filling one drop at a time until something pushes it past the edge. And the final drop is not always the real reason the cup overflowed. In the next few minutes, we are going inside that process. What a flare actually is, why symptoms can rise and fall, and why the trigger is often much harder to identify than people expect. This video is for general education. Symptoms such as fatigue, pain, rashes, digestive changes, or brain fog can have many causes. They cannot confirm an autoimmune disease or a flare on their own. New, severe, persistent, or worsening symptoms should be discussed with a qualified healthcare professional. To understand a flare, first forget the idea that your immune system has only two settings, on and off. It is a living network of cells, chemical messages, tissues, hormones, nerves, and built-in brakes. Every second, parts of that network are becoming more active, while others are being restrained. In a healthy immune response, this balance allows the body to attack a threat, control the damage, and then calm the response when the danger has passed. Autoimmune disease changes that balance. The immune system loses part of its tolerance for the body's own tissues. Depending on the disease, antibodies, T cells, inflammatory molecules, or several of these together may target or damage the joints, skin, nerves, digestive tract, or other organs. These diseases do not behave identically, but many share a frustrating pattern. Periods of lower activity followed by periods when symptoms or measurable disease activity become worse. That period of worsening is called a flare. Now imagine the immune system not as a light switch, but as a landscape during fire season. Even when no flames are visible, the ground may still be dry. Fire crews may be containing the danger, but the conditions that allow a fire to spread have not completely disappeared. In autoimmune disease, immune memory and self-reactive cells may remain. Treatment and regulatory cells may be keeping the response below a level that produces obvious symptoms, but that does not necessarily mean the underlying tendency has vanished. This is why remission does not always mean the immune system has forgotten. It may mean the system is being successfully contained. Then conditions begin to change. An infection activates immune defenses for a legitimate reason. Ultraviolet light may provoke activity in some people with lupus. Environmental exposures or physical strain may matter in certain conditions. Stress, disrupted sleep, and hormonal transitions may influence immune signaling, although their effects vary widely. A medication change or suddenly stopping a prescribed medication can also remove part of the system that was holding inflammation in check. Each factor is one possible drop in the cup, but here is the first important reversal. A trigger is not the same thing as a cause. The trigger may help explain why activity increased on a particular day. It does not, by itself, explain why the autoimmune disease exists. Genes, immune regulation, environmental exposures, infections, hormones, and chance can interact over years. No single stressful week, meal, mistake, or emotion can explain every autoimmune illness. And a flare is not proof that you failed to manage your body correctly. Sometimes people search backward through every detail of the previous day. The food, the argument, the workout, or the night of poor sleep. That search is understandable. Finding one cause can feel like regaining control. But the immune system is not a courtroom looking for one guilty suspect. It is a network. Several small changes may combine. A factor that matters during one flare may do nothing during another. Two people with the same diagnosis may have completely different patterns. And sometimes, no clear trigger can be found at all. Now let us return to the moment the cup reaches its edge. Inside the body, immune cells communicate using chemical signals. Some of these messages help recruit more cells, increase inflammation, and make tissues easier to defend. This amplification is useful during an infection. One cell detects danger, alerts its neighbors, and the response grows quickly. But in autoimmune disease, that same ability to amplify can be directed toward the wrong target or remain active for too long. More inflammatory signals can activate more immune cells. Activated cells can release more signals. Injured tissue can release distress messages of its own. The response begins feeding forward. The quiet ember has found enough fuel. What happens next depends on where the disease acts. In a joint, inflammation may produce swelling, stiffness, and pain. In the skin, it may produce a rash or plaques. Other diseases may affect the digestive tract, the nervous system, or several organs at once. And fatigue itself is not imaginary or simply a lack of motivation. Inflammatory signals can influence the brain, sleep, metabolism, and the way the body allocates energy. The result can feel like someone has removed the battery from the body, even when the person has done very little that day. This is one reason a flare can be invisible to everyone except the person living through it. But there is another complication. Symptoms and immune activity do not always move together perfectly. Pain or tissue damage can remain after inflammation has begun to settle. Poor sleep, infection, anemia, medication effects, or another problem can imitate part of a flare. In some diseases, activity can also occur before a person notices a dramatic change. So feeling worse does not automatically reveal exactly what the immune system is doing. And feeling better does not always answer every medical question either. Doctors may need an examination, laboratory results, imaging, or other disease-specific information to separate a flare from infection, accumulated damage, medication effects, or an unrelated condition. This distinction matters because the correct response may be very different. Treating infection and treating autoimmune activity may require very different decisions. That is why changing or stopping prescribed medication without professional guidance can be dangerous. So why do flares eventually calm down? Because amplification is only half of the immune story. The body also has systems designed to restrain immune activity. Regulatory cells can suppress parts of the response. Chemical messages are cleared. Short-lived immune cells disappear, and damaged tissue begins repair. Treatment may also interrupt steps that keep the inflammatory loop going. Think of these mechanisms as firefighters, cleanup crews, and circuit breakers working at the same time. If they regain control, immune activity may fall below the threshold that produced obvious symptoms. The flare recedes. Some people return close to their earlier baseline. Others may be left with fatigue, pain, or damage that takes longer to improve. This is why the end of a flare may feel gradual rather than dramatic. It is also why boosting the immune system is the wrong goal in autoimmunity. The problem is not simply that the system is weak. Parts of it may be overactive, misdirected, insufficiently regulated, or responding in the wrong place. What matters is balance and control, not maximum force. For someone living with a diagnosed autoimmune disease, a record of patterns may be more useful than a hunt for perfection. Dates, symptoms, duration, medication changes, recent infections, unusual exposures, sleep disruption, stress, and physical activity. Over time, a record may reveal repeatable clues. It can also help a clinician distinguish a true flare from another problem. But the record should be a source of information, not a list of reasons to blame yourself. The immune system is influenced by more variables than anyone can monitor. Not every flare can be predicted. Not every flare can be prevented. And not every symptom has an autoimmune explanation. If you have a diagnosed condition, it can help to ask your healthcare team what an early flare looks like for you, which symptoms require prompt attention, and whether you should have a written plan for what to do when those signs appear. And if you do not have a diagnosis, recurring fatigue, pain, rashes, digestive problems, or brain fog should not be labeled autoimmune based on a video or symptom list. A proper evaluation matters because many conditions can create similar patterns. An autoimmune flare can feel sudden because the body crosses a visible line, but underneath that moment is often a much longer story. Immune memory that never completely disappeared, regulatory systems working to contain it, possible pressures accumulating, inflammatory signals amplifying, and finally a threshold being crossed. The last drop may be the one you notice, but it is rarely the whole cup. Understanding that does not make a flare easy, but it can replace one painful question, what did I do wrong, with a more accurate one. What pattern is my body showing, and what information does my healthcare team need? If you live with flares, which change tends to appear first for you? Energy, joints, skin, digestion, brain fog, or something else? Share only what you are comfortable sharing in the comments. And if clear, visual explanations of the immune system help you understand your body, subscribe to Inside Immunity and turn on notifications.